So, chapter 11, communication climates. You realize there's only 12 chapters, right? And we're at 11. So, what is a communication climate? It refers to the social tone of a relationship. So, think about two interpersonal communication classes back when we used to have classes, right? And you walk into one and everybody's talking, having a great time, and you walk into the other one, it's like completely dead silent. And it just feels different. I mean, I remember doing evaluations and going into classrooms, and you could just sit down by a kid and it's just like, did you guys just get yelled at? And they're like, yeah, because you can feel it in the room, right? Each group has a different feeling. So how do these develop? They develop, and it's developed by the determination of whether or not people see themselves as valued. It has to do with the confirming communication or the disconfirming communication. The confirming communication is you exist, you matter, you're important. The disconfirming is I don't like you, you're not important, I don't even care if you're here. Every message has a relational dimension and a content dimension. This means that we send and receive confirming and disconfirming messages whenever we communicate. Even choosing not to speak to somebody can be communication that's disconfirming. In classroom, confirming communication by teachers have shown to enhance student learning, participation, while reducing negative behaviors. So as far as confirming messages goes, they are things like recognition, saying hello, recognizing the person, greeting them. There's acknowledgement, listening to their answers and acknowledging that they've made a good point. There's endorsement. Then there's disagreeing messages, and they say that basically it's that you're wrong, but I'm still going to recognize you and acknowledge you. So you can be argumentative, you can be complaining, you can be aggressive in all of these parts. There's disconfirming messages, and those imply you don't exist and you're not valued. So those are impervious responses, an interrupting response, an irrelevant response, a tangible response, an impersonal response, an ambiguous response, an incongruous response. So when we get these, our thing that our body does is we become defensive because we want to protect ourselves from attack. We see this as a face-threatening act. Messages that we perceive as challenging the image we want to protect. So because of this, we become defensive. Once a communication climate is formed, whether it's positive or negative, it kind of takes on a life of its own. So how to create a supportive climate? It kind of has to do with how you word things. So you can either be evaluative or descriptive. Evaluative is like, this is an ugly tablecloth. Descriptive is, yeah, I'm not crazy about this. You can use control versus problem orientation. Control is, there's only one way to handle this. Problem orientation is, looks like there's a problem. Let's work out a solution we both can live with. There's strategy versus spontaneity. So strategy is kind of thing is, what are you doing after work Friday? Because you're kind of being dishonest or manipulative. You're not really saying kind of thing. Spontaneous is, hey, I have a piano I need help moving on Friday. Can you help me? There's neutrality versus empathy. And neutrality, maybe a better word, is indifference. And remember, empathy is where you take on others' feelings as their own. So the neutrality is, don't get excited. Everybody gets promoted sooner or later. Whereas empathy is, I bet you're excited about your promotion. There's superiority versus equality. A superiority comment is like, no, not that way. Let me show you how it's done, right? Equality would be something like, what if you tried it this way? There's certainty versus provisionalism. Certainty would be like, that will never work. Provisionalism is, I guess it's going to run into some problems with that approach. So how do we respond non-defensively to criticism? When we get criticized, we usually become very defensive. How do we non-defensively respond to it? One would be to seek more information. Somebody's criticizing you, and it's like, so where's this coming from? Why is this like this? Another way you can do that is to agree with a critic, which kind of sounds weird, but you can agree with what's true. It's like, yeah, you're right. I am angry, right? You can also agree in the principle of what's going on. Criticism also often comes in a form of abstract ideas against which you're unfavorably compared to. So what about the times when there seems to be no basis whatsoever for agreeing with a critic? You've listened carefully, you've asked questions to make sure you understand the objections, but the more you listen, the more positive you are that they are totally out of line. In these cases, you can just agree with their perception. Such responses tell the critic that you acknowledge their reasonableness of their perception, even though you don't agree or wish to change your behavior. So you can dispute it or you can agree with it, but just agree with their perception. It's like, yeah, I can see where you might think that, but that's as defensive as you get. Thank you.